This is why you should stay armed while camping. Luke from the Outdoor Boys on YouTube posted a terrifying video showcasing why you should always be aware of your surroundings while out camping.
Well, the firewood's all cut, and I've got everything brought into the tent, and the sun's about to set. I think it's time to batten down the hatches and tuck it in for the night.
As the man records himself getting ready to camp overnight in the Alaskan wilderness, he begins to hear the haunting sounds of an unknown creature just outside his tent.
Got the fireplace turned around so I can work on it a bit. You hear that?
What sounds like a wolf laughing can be heard scouting the area. As his son sleeps, Luke stays hidden and quiet until the wolves leave. They were camping in the middle of the woods when they hear this. A man named Caden was camping with his friends.
Please, please, please. No.
When suddenly, they begin to hear the horrifying screams of a woman coming from the woods.
I don't know.
That was a fucking child screaming.
Joe, listen.
Or like a fucking woman or something. That was a female fucking screaming. Phil? We're in the middle of nowhere. Dude, that sounds like some haunted ass shit, dude. What happened to the other steel target? There's one right there on the ground. It's on the ground.
As the group approaches the source of the sound,
That right there. What the is that?
creepy enough, they find Witchcraft hanging from a tree. But as they get closer, this happens.
Oh, no.
A YouTuber recorded this. This YouTuber was solo camping in his van in the middle of the woods when he suddenly wakes up hearing strange noises outside. Take a look.
I don't think I'm going to be getting much sleep tonight.
It was assumed that it was just people, but it's still unknown what exactly it was. Let me know in the comments what you think it was. Follow for more videos.
Most people believe these 3 things will save your life. They don't. Let's pretend that you're on vacation with some friends in this cabin, and you hear on the news that there's actually a killer on the loose in the woods surrounding your cabin. What do? Instinctively, you're going to want to ditch your friends and just start running into the woods. No shoes, no weapons, no cell phone, no sense of where you're going. But that's actually a terrible idea because the killer is in the woods, and you'd be putting yourself more in harm's way, not less. So you decide to stay put, and then you remember that your friend drove you all to the cabin in their brand new Lamborghini that was working like 5 minutes ago. So why can't you just pile into that and drive away to safety? The problem with that is anytime you're in a cabin in the woods and there's a killer on the loose around your cabin, even if it's a brand new car, it's not going to start. So don't even go out and try it. You're just sitting in the cabin doing nothing when all of a sudden you feel like someone could be watching you and you want to turn around and make sure no one is. Don't turn around because if you do, the killer will magically appear behind you.
Have you ever wondered why people say it's not a good idea to play hide and go seek in the woods at night? Well, it's not just because it's dangerous. You see, the woods at night can be very creepy. Things happen. So this is a story that I heard from someone named Sabrina. Sabrina said when she was a young girl, she would go with her family to West Virginia to see her aunt, uncle, and cousins. And she said she always enjoyed this because she got to hang out with her cousins who were close to her in age. Well, she said this particular time when they had went down, it was like a Saturday night, and the parents were all inside kind of, drinking and talking and having a good time. And they really didn't care what the kids were doing. So they were in the backyard playing, and their backyard was situated against the woods. So one of her cousins had the idea, like, hey, we should go in the woods and play hide and go seek. And Sabrina was like, I don't know if that's like a good idea. Like, it's pretty dark. And he's like, oh, come on, it'll be fine. We play out here all the time in the woods. So they go out into the woods and they start hiding. Their cousin is the seeker. So Sabrina said she went down kind of what looked like a trail, and she found these sort of bushes. She goes around the bushes and kind of finds a spot in between where it's kind of open and no one could see her. So she's sitting in the bushes just hiding. It's completely dark out except for the moonlight. And she said all of a sudden, she felt like someone was standing behind her. And she could hear like breathing. Like, at this time, she thinks that like this is one of her cousins. And so she's like, go find somewhere else to hide. Like, you're going to get us found. Like, this is my spot. Find somewhere else. She said they didn't say anything. And she said, like, wait a second. Is that my cousin? Like, we're out in the middle of the woods. She looks behind her. There's no one there. And she was like, oh, that's weird. She's like, I heard it. I hope he hurry up and finds me. Because that was kind of creepy. So off in the distance, she can kind of hear her cousin one by one, like finding people. And he still hasn't found her yet. So she thinks maybe I like hid too good and I need to go like basically find him so he could say he found me and then I could go back in the yard. So she starts wandering around in the woods. And then she's like, you know what? I'm just going to call out his name so he can find me. So she starts saying his name out loud, you know, and she says it and she hears him say, hey, where are you? And she's like, I'm over here. And then she heard it again. Hey, where are you? And she's like, I said, I'm over here. Like, come and find me. Like, I'm over here. And once again, she heard it. Hey, I'm over here. So she walks in the direction of what she thinks is her cousin at this time. And she's like, hey, where are you? Like, where are you at? Like, come and find me. I want you to find me so we can be done with the game. And he's like, I'm over this way. Come just a little bit further. And she said she didn't know why. But she had like this bad feeling like maybe she should head back to the yard. Like something was just off about the situation. So she started walking back towards the yard. And she said all of a sudden, standing by the bushes, she sees her cousin. And she's like, okay, you found me now. Let's go back to the yard. And she said he was just standing there, very still, like staring at her. And she's like, okay, come on. Like, this isn't funny. Let's go back to the yard. And he's just standing there, like not doing anything. So she just was like, all right, whatever, you stay out here. I'm going back to the yard. She makes it back to the yard, and she doesn't see any of her cousins. She goes inside, and her cousins are sitting down there talking with the parents. And she's like, wait, weren't you just outside? Like, how did you get inside so fast? And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I found everyone except for you, and then I gave up, and we all went inside. And then she's like, but who was that outside? And they're like, what are you talking about? There's no one outside. So she's like, okay, whatever. She goes to bed that night, and she's sleeping in a room by herself. Well, she wakes up, and she said standing in her room was her cousin. And she said like he was just standing very, very still, looking at the wall. And she's like, what are you doing, creepo? Like, why are you in my room? And he said, let's go play hide and seek. And she's like, what? No, it's like midnight. Like, I'm not going outside. Goes, let's go play hide and go seek. And she's like, what are you talking about? He turns, walks to the window, and she said like he opened the window and just like went out the window and walked into the woods. So like she got up, ran, and told her parents like, hey, my cousin's like, he just went outside into the backyard and asked me to play hide and go seek. So like the parents got up her aunt and uncle, and where's her cousin? He's still in bed.
Daniel O'Neill is a YouTuber from the UK with a channel called English Woodsman, where he's been uploading videos of his wild camping, stealth camping, and woodland camping trips in the UK for almost 10 years. Most of the channel's videos feature Daniel reviewing camping gear for his viewers and showing footage of his adventures in the great outdoors. For the most part, they're pretty tame, but in August 2023, he uploaded a video of his camping trip in the woodlands close to his home, and the footage is pretty disturbing. The first part of the video pretty much just shows Daniel walking through the woods and talking to his subscribers, eating berries, and pointing out the sights on the way to the campsite. At several points along the way, he pauses to mention the footprints and garbage he sees lying on the trail, indicating other people had been there in the last few days.
Someone's been here. There's a lot of rubbish around here. Yeah, look at the state of this. Does get used, doesn't it?
After about a 20-minute walk, he sits down in a clearing where he plans to set up camp for the night and leans back on a tree to eat his noodles as he talks to the camera. It's not until around 25 minutes into the video that things start to get seriously disturbing for Daniel.
I'm going to be out Friday night, but I'm going away Saturday, so I've got a bit of a drive as well, so I didn't want to be tired, and it's going to throw it down Friday night as well. And rain camping is really good. Is that a badger? Hello?
In 2023, a YouTuber who goes by the name Under the Weather decides to go camping in a remote area in Scotland. However, this solo camp went a bit different than his normal ones, and it all started when he set up camp in between two small creeks, hoping the water would give him a bit more safety from any of the wildlife around him. Feeling confident, he sets up camp, and as the day winds down, he gets in bed. But what happens next to this day, he can't explain. Here's that clip.
A bit too hot, but right, so I think I'm going to go to sleep. And unless something crazy happens, I will see you in the morning. Good night. Hello? 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 The thing is, I'm kind of on an island here, so there's river on that side, river on that side. It's very hard to get down here if it's a human, that is. Typical, now I can't hear a thing. Right, I'll turn the light off. I've got a knife in here. I've got a knife. I've got a knife. Right.
Not able to get back asleep, he decides to take a weapon and venture outside to see if he could scare off whatever it was that was lurking outside of his tent.
No, because as I said, I'm basically on an island, so there's no way that anyone could actually get it. Jesus Christ! Hello? 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 Jesus Christ! Fuck that. Go and say, how did you sleep? I'm like, great. Like a psycho with a knife. Good night. Good night. Good night.
After calling it quits, he decides it's best just to stay inside and wait for the morning. And with how he describes it, you can tell that the night really took its toll on him.
Oh, that was terrifying. It sounded like hysterical laughing that woke me up. Yeah, I just heard people, somebody, noises around there. Like somebody was coming through the water, like your mind running wild. And obviously I went out, had a wee look. Didn't see anything, then I heard like footsteps. I just ran back in here. And then it did go silent after a while, which was alright, so I did get back to sleep.
But that's not quite where the story ends, because while packing up camp, he discovers something lying nearby, which only adds to the mystery of what exactly happened that night.
Pretty wet, that's why I brought my own wood. Hang on a minute. Yeah, what the fuck is that? Right. These were in a pile over there. And they're like just sitting on the ground. Aye, right. I think someone's playing silly buggers. Like I said, for me to get out of here and well, I can still live to tell another tale.
Now whatever these are that were lying outside of his tent remain a mystery, but definitely let me know. What do you think about this one?
She was hiking alone in the Appalachian Mountains, and immediately after entering the forest, she found something disturbing lying on the ground, with strange handwritten notes scattered next to it. And just a few steps away, there was a tent tucked behind some trees, so she assumed someone was camping nearby, and decided to move a few miles further and set up her own camp somewhere safer. But when it got darker, her dog suddenly locked into something and stared at it frozen for nearly 10 minutes, completely ignoring her commands, so she thought someone could have followed her and locked her dogs in the tent and walked toward the direction they were looking at. But she didn't see any lights or tracks of anyone, and the situation only kept getting worse because when she came back, she found a shelter logbook lying on the ground where hikers write updates, and one of the entries matched the exact same handwriting from the notes she saw earlier. And after realizing that, she couldn't fall asleep, so she started reading scary stories on a live stream when suddenly one of her dogs started showing signs of distress, so she began packing her stuff. But then she recorded something absolutely terrifying.
I feel so vulnerable and I'm not leaving. Stop! Oh, God! Stop. The dogs are not liking this at all.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen.
Did the window break?
This is why you always lock your doors. Will from Will Whereabouts was camping in the middle of the woods in Box Hill, UK.
I think this will do for tonight's stealth camping. Freezing cold! That'll be a good way just to get some heat in here in the mornings and in the evenings when it really does start to drop. I've decided to put my gas portable stove just sitting on the boxes which it goes in, because I'm going to spark it up and get a bit of nice warm air to come through.
When suddenly, late at night, he's awoken by what sounds like human voices.
I don't think I'm going to be getting much sleep tonight.
Will explains he was all alone in that site, so what exactly made those sounds?
A man was out camping alone in the woods somewhere in Indonesia, attempting to sleep the whole night there, but unfortunately, he is abruptly woken up to some disturbing sounds outside his tent. This is what he caught.
Siapa kamu? Hei. Siapa kamu? Halo. Masih seperti ada yang minta tolong, teman-teman, kayak nangis. Itu tadi tangan seperti apa teman-teman? La ilaha illallah, jelas sekali. Sepertinya seperti cakar. Subhanallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Apa itu? Tikus ya? Kamu jangan meneror aku ya. Apa ya teman-teman? Itunya jatuh. Seperti bunyi itu kesenggol tikus ya. Jangan-jangan kesenggol tikus ya. Astagfirullahaladzim, kedengeran ada yang nangis. Siapa itu? Hey.
After hearing some wailing sounds, he looks around outside the tent and finds nobody there, so he decides to go back to sleep inside. Then a few minutes later, he hears something far worse. Once again, he checks the surrounding area and found nobody there, so he retreats back to his tent, and things quickly take a horrifying turn.
Kok seperti ada sesuatu sih, apa ya? Perasaan aku aja apa kali ya? Seperti ada yang aneh loh teman-teman. Astagfirullahaladzim, la ilaha illallah. Gimana kamu? Astagfirullahaladzim, la ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar. Kamu?
What looks like a woman can be seen just floating above the tent in the darkness, as if she was hung, but shortly after she fades away into the darkness. When he goes to look around, he sees nothing there. Even though he is an experienced camper, he was extremely scared, and mentions that this was one of the most terrifying nights of his life.
Scariest things found in the woods, PT.5.
scariest things ever found in the woods. A biker was in a Colorado forest when he found a metal wire tied across 2 trees. Soon more bikers began reporting the same thing. Someone had even lost their lives to one of these wires. It seems someone wants to harm bikers for some reason. Police have been looking into this, but so far have not found whoever's doing it. In December 2014, a man heard screaming coming from the woods behind his house. You can hear a girl screaming "Daddy" and an adult voice saying, "Where are you?" The man who heard this said he checked the news every day, but heard nothing about the incident on the news. Some people commented on this, saying it may have been a setup for a kidnapping, but really, we don't know. One day, a Forest Service officer was doing a routine patrol of a trail in Utah. That's when he noticed a tripwire tied between 2 trees. He followed the wire, and it led him to this: a ball made of rocks and sharpened sticks, which was set to fall when the tripwire was hit. That was bad enough, but he soon found another trap on the same trail, a tripwire pulled tight, which would cause people to fall into a bed of sharpened sticks. Police began investigating this, which led them to 2 men, Benjamin Rodkowski and Kai Christensen. They claimed the traps had been set for animals, but the police did not believe this. The 2 men were later sentenced to 30 days in jail.
Can we show them the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
They went to both.
Yeah.
In the backyard.
Let's talk about the American folklore, the hide behind. The hide behind is a creature that hides behind trees and preys upon any human being that they see wander in the woods. American folklore talks about this creature and blames it for the disappearance of early loggers who wandered the woods and failed to return back to their camps. Just like its name, this creature is able to conceal itself from anyone behind any trees. The hide behind itself is said to be related to some type of skinwalker because it has a human-like figure, but it's not. Let's say you're walking in the woods and somewhat come upon something following you. The hide behind will never let you see it because as soon as you look back at it, it'll hide behind the tree, and it hides very well. Rumor has it that allegedly there was a kid who went into the woods just to find a hide behind. This boy claimed that he lured the hide behind to follow him home. He claimed that he found a tree in the woods, knocked on the tree, hugged the tree, repeat the words "hide behind, follow me home," then left a trail of breadcrumbs all the way back to his house. I'm gonna do this tonight on live stream, so be sure to click my live event.
Living next to the woods can be creepy. It's not for everyone because you will see things, you will hear things. It can get very weird. And there is a particular set of rules that if you find yourself living next to the woods or the forest, that you should follow. Now, the first rule is at nighttime, always lock your doors, always close your curtains. Also, at nighttime, never look out the window facing the woods. If you hear a knock at your door at nighttime, do not answer it, especially if it is your back door. You will see lights coming from the woods. Do not follow them. Do not try and communicate with them. Just ignore them. And the most important thing you must remember is that anything you see outside, most likely it's not real. You are not seeing it, or you are not hearing it. Now, this story comes out of Tennessee. There's this man named Christian. Christian said that at one point in time, he grew up in this farmhouse that was out in the boonies. And he said they lived deep, deep in the woods, and it was a dirt road that took several miles to get to their house. And they literally had no neighbors around. Well, he said when they first moved in, there was a lot of weird stuff that would happen. For instance, the dogs didn't want to go anywhere near the woods. They would get to the tree line and they would turn around. And it was like they were afraid of something. They also noticed these deer. They would come into their yard at night and they would just be staring out into the woods like they were scared of something. And then one night, something very strange happened. So it was about 11 o'clock at night. And on the back door, they hear boom, 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 a knock. And that's when his father goes to the back door and he opens it up. There was no one out there. He said as he looked out into the woods, he started to hear screams, and it sounded like someone was in trouble. So he said he got up, and him and his father went outside, and they started looking around. They couldn't see anybody. So eventually, they called the police, and the police came out, and they searched the area. They couldn't find anyone. Well, on a regular basis, they started hearing screams outside their house coming from the woods, and every night, something would be knocking on their back door. A few times, they found the back door wide open. The other weird thing that started happening is Christian's brother started having these weird nightmares. And not only was he having nightmares, he started to sleepwalk. And he would get up from his bed, he'd walk down the hallway into the kitchen and out the back door. And right before he would get into the woods, his dad or his mom would stop him and wake him up. And, this happened several times. Well, eventually his father put up like a camera outside because he was trying to figure out who's knocking on the back door. And one day he looks at the video and he sees his son going out the back door. And he notices he just starts looking around like he's looking for something out in the woods, like something was calling him. And finally, his father comes running out and stops him. So the father started to get really creeped out. He told Christian and his brothers and sisters, do not go out in the woods. And he said that's when one night there was a very loud banging sound coming from the back door. And it was almost like someone was trying to get in this door. So he said his father grabs a baseball bat. He goes to the back door and he opens it. And he looks around, and out of the corner of his eyes, he sees something moving in the woods. So he said his father started to make his way towards the wood line. And that's when he sees something run back further into the woods. So his father starts to go into the woods down this trail. And he said he could see this thing from a distance. And he noticed when he would kind of move, it would move. Or when he would turn to the right, it would turn to the right. Or when he would turn to the left, it would turn to the left. And he said whatever he would do, whatever movement he would do, this thing would follow. And he said that's when he realized whatever this was, it was almost like looking at a mirror. This thing was copying him. It was following his every movement. So his father turns around, takes off running through the woods, gets back in the house, and tells everyone, get in the vehicle, we are leaving. And they moved that night and left everything behind in the house. And he said still to this day, he has nightmares whenever he's near the woods because he still thinks about his time living in that place.